Hello everyone, here's Thomas once again. In this video I'm going to talk on some of the logical fallacies used by Muslims in order to defend Islam. Now some of them are not aware of this fact that they are even committing such fallacies. Now he or she is sincere in his belief and they are thinking that they may not they're not aware that you're using such logical fallacy. Thus, if you know these fallacies, you must be patient and kind in order to deal with them, as some of them are not aware of these facts. I would like to present these logical fallacies to say to them, so they will know that whenever they enter in a debate, they should avoid using them. Now, without wasting further time, here are some of the logical fallacies and some explanations for them. Now, I will talk first of all the most commonly used logical fallacy, which is called the false assumption. In logic as well as in law, historical precedent means that the burden of proof rests on those who set forth new theories and not on those whose ideas have already been verified. For example, the old test the new. The already established authority judges on any new claims to authority. So for example, though I'm not a Christian, but the example of this fallacy will be like this: since Islam came along many centuries after Christianity, Islam has the burden of proof and not Christianity. The Bible tests and judges the Quran. When the Bible and the Quran contradicts each other, the Bible must logically be given first place as the older authority. The Quran is in error until it proves itself. Now you can disagree with that based on your belief, but I was just giving you an example of false assumption. Now the second most commonly used logical fallacy is called circular reasoning, or arguing in a circle. If you have already assumed in your premise what you are going to state in your conclusion, then you have ended where you begin and prove nothing. Now in circle, if you are, that says that you are nothing, you are in the circle. If you end where you begin, you got nowhere. For example, proving Allah by Quran and then proving the Quran by Allah, not good. For example, in Surah Ikhlas, Allah is telling the world that He is one and only and He has no son, He was not begotten. Fine, but this is a clear circular reasoning where Allah is the author of these lines and He is asking the world to accept it without giving any proof other than the Quran, which He wrote Himself, or no, author of the Quran. Or second, for example, proving Muhammad by the Quran and then proving the Quran by Muhammad, not good again. Number three, proving Islam by Quran and then proving the Quran by Islam. It's not very good. Sorry folks. Now the third common logical fallacy which we used to see these days are the false analogy. Comparing two things as if they are parallel when they are not really the same at all. For example, I will compare two major religions in the world to clear this further up. For example, many Muslims erroneously assume that the Muslims and Christians share the same concept of God: revelation, inspiration, textual preservation, the Bible, prophethood, biblical history, conversation, etc., which is actually wrong. Or the second example will be because a false analogy is drawn between Islam and Christianity, some Muslims think that any argument which refutes the Quran will likewise refute the Bible. Any argument which refutes Muhammad will also refute Jesus Christ, etc., which is, by the way, totally wrong analogy. This is called false analogy. The other common fallacy widely used by Muslims is the fallacy of irrelevance, meaning when you introduce issues which have no logical bearing on the subject under discussion, you are using irrelevant arguments. The example will be, some Muslims argue the Quran is the word of God because the text of Quran has been preserved perfectly. Now this argument is false for two reasons. First, logically it is irrelevant whether the text of Quran has been preserved, because preservation does not logically imply inspiration also. A book can be perfectly copied without implying its inspiration. How does so-called perfect preservation suggest that the Quran is from Allah? If today Salman Rushdie's book is being preserved perfectly, and let's say after 200 or 300 years later someone claim, well, it's preserved perfectly, though Muslim hated it too much, will it make a divine book? I don't think so. Then there is a common fallacy which is called ad hominem attack, which is in general category of fallacies in which a claim or argument is rejected on the basis of some irrelevant fact about the author of or the person presenting the claim or argument. Typically, this fallacy involves two steps. First, an attack against the character of a person making the claim. His or her circumstances or her actions is made for the character, circumstances or actions of the person reporting to the claim. Second, the attack is taken to be evidence against the claim or argument the person is making or presenting. Now this type of argument has the following form. I will give you example of two, Bill and Dave. Let's say they are engaged with a debate with each other, and Bill says, I believe that abortion is morally wrong. Dave replies, of course you would say that, you are a priest. Bill, what about the argument I gave to support my position? Dave, those don't count. Like I said, you are a priest, so you have to say the abortion is wrong. Further, you are just a lackey to the Pope, so I can't believe what you say. This is a very, I would say, a noble example of this fallacy. But if you see, for example, Quran, or if you see the general attacks by Muslims, and now this fallacy can be seen everywhere. For example, in the Quran, where Allah attacked enemies of Islam with sometimes personal attacks. There are many good examples in Quran, such as in 11:27 and also in 68:13, and also the 68:13 and some verses previously. Previous verses, then the whole surah of 111 verses 1 to 5 are very good examples of ad hominem. I would like to request our Muslim friends that defending faith is not bad, but please, before you consider doing this, look your arguments and see if they fall under these or other common logical fallacies. Now there are other fallacies as well, but I will end my video here, and also thank you for your listening, and peace be with you all.